This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
And we welcome you to the Fatal 4-Way live on ON TV along with Bolf Shawn Grugel, Hollywood Q. I'm Jason Clouse. We certainly appreciate you tuning in here this week. We had to take the last episode off because, you know, at the end of the day, we're human. And humans tend to get sick from time to time. So, and with that, we had to call an audible for the last episode. But for the first time in a long time, we are all here in the studio. We're ready to go, and we've got a lot to talk about here, gentlemen. And of course, if you're talking about pro wrestling headlines, at some point, John Cena's name is coming up because I don't think I have seen an event. Well played, sir. His heel turn that took place at the end of the Elimination Chamber Premium Live event on March 1st has really transcended not just the storyline, not just WWE, not just WrestleMania, but this thing is being utilized as a metaphor for real life issues going on in the world around us. We talked about it on the podcast, but like Jon Stewart of The Daily Show use this thing as a metaphor to describe what's happening with the politics, you know. So I was like, man, when was the last time a heel turn had this kind of impact that just went above and beyond the world of pro wrestling? Everybody was talking about this, whether you were a fan or not. Q, I'll start with you. Was the turn, the way it went down, a surprise? And where does this rank in terms of the biggest heel turns in the history of professional wrestling?
Ooh, right into the gusto.
Oh, we got stuff to talk about, pal.
All right. As far as you know, where it ranks in wrestling history, I'm gonna start with that one. To me, and I said it the day of, I said this is the second greatest heel turn of all time. The fact that it was covered on ESPN. It was covered on all of these different sport networks. It was all over the place. My buddies that don't even watch wrestling were like, John Cena really turned heel? And the fact, and this what made it even greater. And and I laugh when I'm gonna laugh. I might start laughing when I say this. But okay, John Cena. John Cena got the Guinness Book of World Records for being the longest face before turning heel. I said if I was backstage, if I was Rey Mysterio, I would go kick somebody in the you know what right now to get that record.
Right.
But this John Cena thing, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, that it's possible, but it was really, to me, up to WWE if they had the cojones to actually do it. And they actually did. And I think The Rock had a lot to do with that.
Sure.
But yeah, it's definitely the second greatest, in my opinion.
Behind Hogan's?
Behind Hogan's.
Okay. That has been the general consensus of things that people that I've talked to about this, because I've had, people that we work with were messaging me. Same thing. Did John Cena really turn heel? What does this mean for WrestleMania? What this means for WrestleMania is, for the first time in a long time, this feels like WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I have said what I've said about Cody Rhodes at great length. I get it. I understand it. I'm just not a fan of it. For the first time, Brian, I'll shift this over to you. I find myself being a John Cena fan, and that is another layer because I'm not the only one. A lot of people in our age group were among those fans that when you heard "Let's Go Cena," we were the ones that were yelling back, "Cena sucks." Now, as we go into WrestleMania with this heel turn, it's that fresh coat of paint. I find myself really thinking about buying a John Cena shirt for the first time ever. For you, what did this do for the complexion of WrestleMania?
Good question. I'm excited. I'm excited with WWE's. Like lately, everything seems to be a surprise. It's not cookie cutter. It's not predictable. I mean, how many times have we sat here and we're like, well, we know, well, let's do the predictions, and we all just spit out the same ones because we know what's going to happen. The last few pay-per-views, there's surprise after surprise. It's like we knew that it was a possibility, but it was pretty low. I'm like, I thought it was like, is Cody gonna go? I thought CM Punk would have been a more likely candidate than Cena. Mm-hmm. It's exciting, and I want to see what Cena as a heel looks like before I can totally get behind him. I'm excited to hear this heel theme song that he's been talked about in interviews like prior to the heel turn. I'm like, man, I wonder if that was like a little foreshadowing for us. Like, we're going to hear this song finally.
Right.
I want to see the merch. I want to see how he portrays a heel before I can get completely on board. But I'm not a fan of Cody, so it's either going to be I'm a fan of Cena or I'm going to be indifferent.
So among the all-time heel turns, this is number 2 on your list, or is there another one?
It definitely doesn't beat out Hogan. I don't know. I put a list of 5 on my thing. I kind of, it's kind of how you view it as a heel turn, but Vince, the Montreal Screwjob, I think I might even put that above it. And then, like, this would be, like, number 3 for me. Because that one started such a character of Vince as the boss, as the heel. Like that changed wrestling for a long time.
From the inside out.
Yeah.
You know, the business aspect of it. They were doing box office numbers, and then you had Steve Austin included in that. You and I know timing is everything. And it could be the best laid plan, but if it's not done in the timely manner, it could be a big miss here. Cena has announced he is working this entire year. This is his retirement year, and he has pledged he's going to be a part of the show for the duration. We have had private conversations about whether or not he was going to turn heel in this tour. Was it too late in his career? As things have turned out now, he has turned heel. Was this the right time? Should they have waited until later in the year? What's your opinion on this?
I think the timing on this was perfect. Perfect. When you're talking about the final boss and John Cena teaming up, it's almost unbelievable to me. And just like you said, I'm finding myself to be a Cena fan at this point. And it's not just because Cena turned heel. It's the ripple effects that are happening. Watching the videos of the little kids cry, watching grown adults cry. It's the emotional connection. Now people are going to want to see this pay-per-view. Ticket sales were slumping because it was, Jey Uso in the main event, or as, a lot of people are saying.
Perceived, yeah.
Now we have John Cena with Cody Rhodes, and I've said it, I think I sent it to you. I really think we're going to have something like what we see on the top here. The Andre swerve at the big event. I think we might see John Cena win this title and then give it to the final boss. And the reason why I'm saying that is look at all the people in line for the heavyweight title. We could use a big tournament this year. We really could.
History does repeat itself time and time again. As you look on the graphic here, like these are some of the biggest, most impactful heel turns. If we sat here and made a list of every heel turn that's ever happened, we could be here for 3.5 hours breaking this down. You know, other ones that were very prominent from when we were a kid, you know, watching wrestling in the 80s. I think of Paul Orndorff when he turned on Hogan, how upset I was about that. As I got older, then we saw the breakup of the Rockers, and a lot of younger fans, I loved it, but a lot of younger fans were upset about it. But that emotional connection, like you were talking about, man, for us, it was Hogan Andre.
Right.
You know, when Andre came out with Bobby Heenan, the whole world just it crumbled around us. Like, this cannot be happening. Then I was scared that Hogan was going to lose.
Yeah,
you know?
that was the big thing. It's like, how is he going to do this?
Right.
Right.
But, you know, as history was shown, the All-American hero rises above, and this, that, and the other thing. Now that role is kind of switched because you have the Make-A-Wish guy, you know, and like he's got more Make-A-Wish, you know, things than anybody else in history. Now he's the ultimate bad guy here, and the way he has portrayed himself to this point has been perfect. I feel like there's so much anticipation, like you were saying. What's he going to look like? What's his song going to be? And we haven't seen him since Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
But apparently he's going to be in Brussels this Monday for Raw, which, by the way, I want to make mention. They haven't really spent a whole lot of time really hyping on this, but if you do watch Raw on Mondays on Netflix, this week, because they're actually broadcasting it live from Brussels, there is a 3 p.m. Eastern start time. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon is when you can watch Monday Night Raw live this week. Next week, their start time is altered too, because I think they're in Scotland or somewhere around there.
Can you say it's like almost 3 weeks?
2.
Is it 2?
It's 3 weeks in a row.
3 weeks in a row, yep.
Yeah.
I think it's 3-2-3, if I'm not mistaken. Eastern time.
So, obviously, we're gonna, you know, like everybody else, we're gonna be on the edge of our seats, waiting to see how the storyline plays out. Now, let's make the pivot to another examples of different ways a story is being told. 2 steel cage matches took place this past week, one for All Elite Wrestling and one for World Wrestling Entertainment. From my estimation, and I did take the time to watch both these matches twice each, because I watched it in real time first, and then I wanted to go back and actually look and see what I was looking at. You and I had a conversation last night, and a very good one, about we were comparing and contrasting these 2 cage matches, because I feel like when you initiate a steel cage, generally and historically, this has been the final match of a long winding feud, right? It hasn't always been that way. It has been used as just to pop a rating every once in a while. So coming into this weekend, and the way the business has kind of shifted that part of it, especially in WWE, the storyline aspects, we were very much looking forward to the CM Punk versus Seth Rollins match in the cage. Plus, it was at the Garden in New York. And, you know, when they go to Madison Square Garden, they're pulling out all the stops, right? I mean, they bring their best foot forward. It is the mecca for professional wrestling and WWE. So I had a lot of anticipation for this match, because for the first time, much like I said earlier with the whole Cena thing, this felt like what a steel cage match is supposed to be. I watched that on Monday, and then I went back and watched this match that took place on Sunday at AEW Revolution between Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. And I came away from this Q feeling very differently about these 2 matches. Did you watch both of them?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Kind of break down for me what you took away from these 2 matches, individually and as a collective.
Starting off with AEW, the Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher match. They really wanted to pour out a bucket of blood. And I don't know fully what the story is between the two, but I'm a fan of Ospreay. He's great in the ring, but there are some things that AEW tries to pull off that they shouldn't even be trying, like the whole screwdriver thing, and that stuff kind of made me turn my head a little bit, and that stuff wasn't needed. The little kicks to the face, all that stuff wasn't needed. I mean, it's your turn, and all of that stuff. I'm not really into that stuff. As far as the match, I mean, in the ring, they're both great. They are both great in the ring. I think they had a great, good match for a cage match. But as far as all the extra stuff, I don't think it was needed. And the spots that they got to do, all this, like Brian was saying, we were talking about it yesterday, the setting up the
There's
spot off
nothing
the top
worse
of the
than when they
cage.
set
The
up
Spanish
top.
fly.
The Spanish fly.
I'm
off
like,
the
if you
top.
can't get a
And it
guy
wasn't even
pinned for
clean.
3 seconds, how am I supposed to believe he's going to stay prone for 7 to 10 seconds while you set up this thing? Obviously, we have to worry about the person's safety,
Right.
but it makes it unbelievable.
Very, very unbelievable. But as far as WWE, CM Punk and Seth Rollins, which belonged in that cage. I mean, I know that story, and that's not even a blow off. So but I love the fact that they set that up. It wasn't the best. I don't think neither one was the best cage match. The one complaint that I did have with the CM Punk Seth Rollins was the spamming of the finishers. I feel like I was playing 2K, WWE 2K, and I had all those finishers lined up, and man, they were just boom, 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 and everybody was kicking out. I'm like, man, it's a great match. I love the near falls, and I love the close calls and all that stuff. But man, the spamming it was a little bit over the top. What made that match was the ending, and for AEW, what made that match was just the in-ring. It was two totally different matches that you can't really compare, because you have one that was on a pay-per-view, and then you had the TV cage match. So there are two totally different matches, two totally different companies. The stories were different, so it's not that comparable if you really think about it.
He said something about 2K, and you immediately had a reaction.
I've never been a big fan of, people kicking out finishers. Finishers are what they are deemed to be. It's a finisher, and then they're using each other's finisher on them, and the giant stomps on each other. It, to me, I'm not impressed with that, and as far as the AEW Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher goes, they just had a cage match the week before that, in my opinion, was a total bloody wreck, and that's why they were trying to top it with Tony Storm and was it Mariah May?
Yeah.
And that was totally booked wrong too, because then they had to follow that with Edge versus Mox, and the fans crapped all over that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But so my problem is not with the cage matches themselves. It's not with the performers, but how AEW was booking their stuff versus WWE. WWE's was booked correctly. It was a main event. It brought you up to different levels. It took you on that roller coaster ride. Where with AEW, to me, they're always trying to stay here and not take you on that emotional connection. That's my problem with the AEW cage matches.
I saved you for last because I would like you to reiterate what we talked about last
I
night.
got to pull up my text message.
What it came down to was both brands put what they're known for on full display with these two cage matches. You had one, the Rollins Punk match was booked as the blow-off to this huge rivalry that we all know and everybody watches know there is real-life bad blood between these two dudes. But they're able to do what's best for business and put on the match that needs to be. The other one, in my view, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but the way I saw it, and again, I watched this twice, this was nothing more than an effort to create viral moments. To get your name more out there in a market that is overwhelmingly dominated by WWE at this point.
I mean, that basically is directly from that the text I sent you, it's because I watched them back to back. I ended up sitting for the second time I watched them consecutively in order. The AEW one, I mean, if you looked at even at the runtime of the two, it was almost double the AEW one was if you include the entrances and stuff as that as well. But the AEW one with the screwdriver, and I do want to say the way the AEW one started with both of them at the top of the cage in the corners was pretty sweet. I liked that a lot. But the screwdrivers and all the other stuff, it felt like they were really looking for the viral clip, because I feel like sometimes I think AEW is, I don't want to say they're circling the drain, but they're looking for that one thing that's going to make everyone click over to them over WWE, like you said. Right. WWE is established. Like, that's always going to be there at this point. I mean, you could tell by what they're charging for tickets and stuff like that, and what they're doing in arenas and stuff like that. Like, everything is arenas. They're established. AEW, it's like look at the TV deal. They're like, it was kind of up in the air. Where are they going to go? Like, they're grasping for straws, and having viral clips only helps that. Like the screwdriver thing, that's what I felt like. That felt like to me. So, like what I said to you is, one of them, the AEW one, made me feel like you went too far. With the Seth and CM Punk, it didn't feel like the end of a story. It feels like the middle, and especially with Roman coming in, that one left me wanting more. That was the two big differences between those two.
And I feel like that is, I had actually pulled up the text message.
I did a pretty good job, didn't I?
You really did, yeah. So yeah, I mean, two very opposite ends of the spectrum here. One was very much for the storyline purposes, and when you start looking at this rivalry with Punk and Rollins, man, there is so much backstory to incorporate, into that. Whereas with Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay, these were guys, because by and large, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but if you go up to a casual wrestling fan, they don't know who these guys are by name. You know what I mean? Because they haven't been on that kind of platform yet.
I think if you took 10 minutes off that match, you took the screwdriver and the sissy kicks out of it, I think that would have been a great match as well. Like, those guys both are good workers. Like, there was moments in there I was like, wow, like, this is crazy.
And granted, they had a story going into the match. I mean, they've been telling a story for about 8-9 months. It's nowhere near as long as, Punk and Rollins, but they have been trying to tell a story. I think the problem is Tony Khan is always trying to put 10 pounds of stuff in a, 5-pound sack, and it just don't work a lot of times.
And then on top of that, these guys are great in-ring workers. All of this extra stuff is not even needed.
Right.
You got the cage. Why the screwdriver? Right. The cage is supposed to be the weapon.
Right. No, I totally agree. Let's look at the other matches, coming off the cage match. Like I said, this was part of the Revolution pay-per-view that took place last Sunday. Let's go over some of the highlights, results of this show. Jon Moxley retained the AEW World Championship against Cope and Christian Cage with a, I can't stand that, if I could be honest with you, with a failed cash-in by Christian Cage. We just said that Will Ospreay beat Fletcher. Omega won the International Championship over Tashida. The Hurt Syndicate retained the AEW Tag Team Championship against the Outrunners. Okada retained the Continental Championship over Brody King. Swerve Strickland beat Ricochet. Mercedes beat Momo to hang on to the TBS title. Hangman Page with a win over MJF, and there was a few clips of that match that went viral. But I want to talk about real quick this match. You alluded to it here a little bit ago with Toni Storm and Mariah May. That was really the dominating headline coming out of this pay-per-view. Not necessarily just because Toni would retain the women's championship over Mariah, but it was the level of violence that took place during this match. And some fans, a lot of fans, have gone on social media and said AEW has gone too far with violence in women's matches. So I wanted to bring that topic up here real quick and go around the horn here, and just to get what your take. Is there a limit, in your opinion, Q, to violence in women's matches? Did the Tony and Mariah match go way too far? Because both these girls had come out of this match the equivalent of Terry Funk and Mick Foley.
Man, what a comparison.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely went too far to me, and I didn't even really watch the entire match.
It wasn't that long.
No, it wasn't? Okay,
No,
well,
it
I
was
don't know.
only like 14 minutes total.
Okay, well, I watched
Is that with entrances?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, well, I watched about 4 minutes of that. But yeah, that's not really my style, you know. Maybe there's an audience for that, but definitely not me. I think it definitely went too far. I'm just picturing myself being married to like one of those. If I was married to Toni Storm, would I want my wife to go through all that stuff, or bloodied up her face, and and was it thumbtacks and all of this stuff?
It was not thumbtacks. It was broken glass.
Broken glass. Oh man, that's even worse. I mean, jeez, it's too much. I mean, like you were saying before, though,
Would you feel different if it was guys doing it though?
That's the question.
Yeah.
That is always the follow-up. Yep, that's what I have been hit with too. And I can see that there is that double standard. Go ahead. I know you're chomping at the bit.
I am chomping at the bit because there's a big discussion going
I
on.
don't mind hitting women.
Hey now, don't let the shirt fool you. So look,
They said shirt, not hat.
women wrestlers nowadays, they don't consider themselves women wrestlers. They consider themselves pro wrestlers. They put themselves on the same level as the men. With our old school mentality, if we were to be talking to a female wrestler now and we were to talk about how women back in the 60s, 70s, 80s were an attraction, they almost feel like that's biased against them. You don't call them female wrestlers, you call them wrestlers. It's a big discussion on Facebook and social media right now. So for us men over the age of 30, we of course are going to, because we are instilled with this protective nature when it comes to women, that we feel it's too far. Anyone under that demographic, 30, no, let them go at it, let them tear each other up. And the women themselves are the same way. They want to put themselves on that level. I think you're going to have that split constantly just because of the way human nature is. And me personally, that's too much. Broken glass and everything else, but you're a professional athlete, you want to prove that you're on the same level as a guy, go for it.
That's a good way of looking at it. And you make a great point, because I think a lot of that is the psychological part where we instinctively want to take care or protect girls, women, right? Well, at least men who are worth the crap. But
We're pretty good.
I mean, yeah, we're all right, but that probably is why I feel the way that I do about it, because I do feel like it went too far. Like, look, I'm not above seeing a girl get busted open. Like, that's going to happen, especially in this day and age. But holy hell, when you see something like this, and both of them, like, I black and whited out the picture because I didn't want to offend anybody. Brian has it pulled up here, but that, like, I cringe when I see Terry Funk looking like that, or Mick Foley, knowing what they just put their bodies through. And I'm not trying to say that women are weaker than men, but it does hit me, on a different level psychologically when I see a woman bleed like that. Yeah. Like, instantly I'm like, what the crap? Like something has gone horribly wrong here.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm at with it.
I feel like it doesn't resonate as much for me, but I know where that comes from, being a fan of the UFC, I've seen women beat themselves bloody for real in that octagon. I've seen ears get exploded on women, and like, so it has dulled a little
Desensitized
bit
you?
because I've seen it.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm like, as everyone's talking, I'm replaying this match in my head. I don't think I've seen a more violent match ever. Total, not just women, but total.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going back through death matches and stuff like that. And did you watch this whole match?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they did the kickboxer.
Right.
I don't know how I'm not. I want to be like you guys said, like, man, we should, like, that's too far. But there is like that 13-year-old me that's thinking back to kickboxer and wrapping your hands in glass or tape and then put them in broken glass. You told me I get to see that in wrestling. I'm gonna be like, yeah,
Right.
I want to see that. The fact it was women, it's like, I don't know. I think like they wanted to put on a show and they did. Like, they put on the most violent match. They took a broken champagne bottle and the one stabbed the other one in the crotch with it.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where I've ever seen a match so violent, and I think they had one of the best stories. I did end up watching. If you go on
I agree with
YouTube,
that.
there is a 2.5 hour long thing that shows this storyline from start to end. They did a great job of telling a story, and they didn't need a cage to finish that one.
Right. I told you last night when we were talking about this, like, these two women, Tony and Mariah, got a pretty big accolade from a member of the wrestling commentary space, where Bubba Ray Dudley went on the air and proclaimed that if AEW had an MVP, not just this show, but the entire company right now, it is those two girls that put on this match. Based a lot of what he had just watched with this, but just the overall storyline, and that's what I've heard. I've maintained I cannot sit through an entire episode of AEW. It makes me angry. Like, it really frustrates me more than anything. But I recognize, like, this was the storyline, and this has been the most consistent and compelling that they've been doing at this point. So from that perspective, and to get that kind of endorsement from Bubba Ray Dudley, and you can say whatever you want about Bubba Ray, like, people like him or they don't, but the dude is smart and he has his finger on the pulse and he knows about the business, especially in the hardcore genre. So to get that accolade,
Yep.
they must be doing something right. And what we're going to do is we're going to run a quick timeout, and if you want to be a part of the conversation, you can call in right now at 810-640-5591 or join the live chat on the Orion ONTV Facebook page. With that, we'll be right back with more of the Fatal 4-Way right here live on ONTV.
Yeah, I seriously can't think of even watching all those like tech.
Imagine a child in a classroom. He or she is trying to pay attention in class, but like many kids in our community, he or she faces a challenge. When the school week ends, the reality of hunger begins. Many children depend on weekday school meals, breakfast and lunch, for their nutrition.
That's where Blessings in a Backpack comes in. Each month, volunteers come together to pack nutritious meals for kids that they take home each weekend. With these packs, children receive more than just food. They get hope, energy, and the chance to thrive.
But we can't do it alone. Your support can help us reach even more children, ensuring they have the nourishment they need to succeed.
I've seen firsthand the difference a full stomach can make. These children are more focused, more engaged, and more confident.
Every child deserves to feel secure and cared for. With your help, we can make weekends worry-free for hundreds of children. If you're interested in making a difference, we have a number of ways that you can help.
First, we pack once a month on Wednesday mornings. We would love to have you join us for that. You can sign up through our Blessings in a Backpack Lake Orion Facebook page. We want to thank the Lake Orion High School robotics team for their faithful support in setting up the night before we pack each month.
Finally, if you can't be involved in any of those ways, we welcome monetary donations.
You would simply visit www.blessingsinAbackpacklakeorion.org to donate. And together, we can ensure that every child returns to school ready to learn, grow, and succeed. Blessings in a Backpack, feeding the future one child at a time.
The Lake Orion Lions Club invites you to attend the 9th annual Lions Races at Boulder Point Golf Club on Saturday, April 5th. Sponsors create large wooden lions that take part in multiple races throughout the evening. Place your bets and win some bucks while helping the Lions Club in their charitable efforts in the community. Doors open at 5:30 p.m. with the races starting at 6:30 p.m. A taco bar is included. For ticket information, go to the Lake Orion Lions Facebook page or visit lakeorionlions.org.
And we welcome you back to the Fatal 4-Way live on ONTV. We certainly appreciate you tuning in here this week. We've had a lot of good talk at this point, talking about John Cena's heel turn. Where does it rank among the all-time heel turns? We looked at the Rage in the Cage, the 2 cage matches that took place, one for AEW, one for Monday Night Raw, and then we just kind of looked at and broke down AEW's Revolution pay-per-view and the headline of violence in women's wrestling. So if you do have an opinion, or you have a question, anything like that, the phone line is open, or you can join us on the Facebook chat at Orion ONTV. With that, I am going to turn that over to the Stan Lee of PFC, Brian Bolf, with this week's Mount Rushmore.
All right, like I said, we like to keep it current, and we got St. Patrick's Day coming up here on Monday. So I figured it's almost St. Patrick's Day. You follow Hornswoggle to his pot of gold. You got an unlimited supply of money to steal these guys away. What 4 people are you going to start your own promotion with if you could take 4 guys from anybody right now? All right, for me, if it pops up. Oh, I like that graphic. Good job.
Thank you.
Nice.
I had to go Braun Breaker for sure.
It's cool.
Braun Breaker for sure. I think Braun Breaker, not only being young, seems so talented, great on the mic. I think you could have this guy as a champion in your promotion, and I think you'll get people tuned in just to see him.
Excuse me.
Dominic Mysterio, he's one of the biggest heat getters of all time, and I think the kid is talented. Yeah. And I remember when he first came in, I was like, I cannot stand him. Yeah. He has grown on me so much. I laugh every time I see him out there. Yeah, for sure, I'm taking him. I went back and forth on this next one, whether I was going to go Austin Theory or a Montez Ford, or even at one point I thought maybe Drew. Mm-hmm. But man, if you remember back to when Vince was there and he really was pushing Theory, I think Theory could really, I think if he was in a different place and wasn't surrounded with the talent he is, I think he would really shine.
More so in like a TNA environment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So him, and then I had to do it. I mean, he also heat magnet, but also if I bring this guy into my company, there is a bunch of people that will tune in just because he's there. Mr. Logan Paul. I'm not saying that I'm a fan, but man, if you want to start a promotion, that is a great man to have there.
I really appreciate your thought process of how you made your picks on this.
And I kind of like, I know, like, part of me was like, I like to throw in a woman. But honestly, if I was starting a promotion, I think I would focus mainly on one thing. I'm not going to spread myself out to, like, I'll have women too and then have to try to, like, do everything. So I just isolated myself. I'm going to have this little thing going.
Just sexist.
I am very sexist. I don't want to see women hurt each other.
All right, Sean, let's pull up your Mount Rushmore.
Mine might surprise some people.
All right, take us through it.
Can't wait for this one.
Well, all right, let's start with the one that everyone's going, what? Cody Rhodes. I'm not a fan of Cody Rhodes.
Which one of these is not?
Well, I mean, Cody Rhodes is a money magnet right now, and the kids are all about Cody Rhodes. You see the little ones dressed like Cody, so of course I want to attract the kids to the promotion. Jey Uso, in my opinion, probably one of the most powerful, influential guys in the company right now, and yet is taking the most heat because...
I think your yet was missing EE.
Oh, is that what it was? Then, of course, Jacob Fatu, I think he's probably one of the hottest up-and-comers in this company. Eventually, he's going to take over. And then we got the final boss. I mean, yeah, he's popular. Yeah, he's a great wrestler. But look how much influence he has over the wrestling business right now. I mean, if I can't use his influence to make my company more powerful, then I'm not doing my job as a booker. So, and then when you look at all four of these guys, just in these four guys alone, how many storylines can you put together without having to use
One
of your
bloodline
undercards?
one for sure. I think it might be the name of your company.
That's a pretty good name. Yeah, Bloodline Wrestling. Yeah, there you go.
Bloodline Championship Wrestling. Dig it. All right,
DCW.
Q. Let's pull up yours.
All right. Look at that. All right.
Why does Oba look like he's got
What's going on
gas?
with Oprah?
That's the best picture I could find of him. I can drop the background out. Like, that's an actual promo pic.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and start off with him and get him out the way.
The picture of Rhea actually kind of looks like Dominic.
Well, you know, they were together.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. Yeah. Partnership.
Cross promotion.
There you go.
There we go.
All right. Well, Obafemi, he's definitely the future. I see what he's doing with it in NXT right now, and he's shining. Big guy. I love his finisher, the fall from grace. He's definitely going somewhere. He had a great match with Moose. Gorilla press slammed Moose. Very impressive. Strong guy. I went with Will Ospreay. Mr. 5-star Dave Meltzer, Will Ospreay. He has the most 5 stars. But all joking aside, Will Ospreay is great in the ring. He is great in the ring. If I want some great in the ring, I'm going to go to Will Ospreay. I'm going to go Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu, you got to have some type of bloodline influence. If you get Jacob, you got the whole family. So I'm thinking that way. You know, Jacob is definitely the future. He is taking over. He will be taking over. And my last one, Rhea Ripley, was a toss-up for me because I wanted to go Bianca Belair, but I'm afraid that if I do, I'm going to lose her to Hollywood. So I said, let me just go ahead and get Rhea Ripley. It's crazy that she's still in her 20s. Mm-hmm. She's still in her 20s, and she's already on top.
Huge star.
She's on top.
Mama's on top.
Yeah, there we go. Mommy's on top. Yep. So we'll hook her up with Dom. We'll have our cross promotion and all that stuff. And
You guys are adorable.
I know.
That's what people say.
Yeah, but that's my Mount Rushmore.
All right. For my picks, the first thing that I'm doing is I'm locking down MJF. Even though he is what we would call not the greatest individual as far as a human goes, but man, the heat this guy brings, the attention this guy brings, is off the charts. He would be my first signing. Gunther and Braun Breaker add the power part of this, and Gunther brings a sense of being legit. You know, you see Gunther, you're like, wow, that is a dude that can really hurt some people if he wanted to. Braun Breaker, very much the same thing. That guy is nothing but upside, and he is going to be the face of WWE within the next 2 years. He will be world champion within the next 2 years, either world champion or WWE champion. And I went with Bianca Belair. I'm a huge fan of hers. She just looks like a star. She is multifaceted, and if I'm going to eventually start a women's division, she's going to be the one that I go to, because right now, aside from Charlotte Flair, she is, in my opinion, the best pound-for-pound wrestler in the world. Like, she can really go, and she can work with a number of different types of wrestlers. She's powerful beyond measure. People sleep on her, and I should have put Montez Ford in there with her to form that power couple, but I went with Braun instead on that.
Look at you have all recent graduates of NXT, basically.
Essentially, yeah. For the most part. So that is my Mount Rushmore, and you never know who on this list or any of your lists may wind up going to the WWE Hall of Fame. And what we would like to do right now is update everybody on what's going on with this year's class. And up until a couple of days ago, there was some question as to when this thing was going to be. But before we get there, we all got really excited a couple of weeks ago when it was announced that Demolition had signed a Legends contract with WWE. Now, if anybody is following their story, you know they've been kind of holdouts for the last long time because of a breakdown between Bill Eadie and Vince McMahon. Now that Vince is gone, that has opened the doors of return for not just Axe and Smash, but you look at other guys that have migrated their way back to WWE since McMahon has been excommunicated, we should say, from the promotion that he created. This class is going to be headlined by Triple H in a long overdue solo induction. Yes, I said long overdue, and if anybody has an issue with that,
you got 2 words for him?
I really do, and it's not the catchphrase, if I can be honest with you. That was followed up with the announcement of Michelle McCool, which kind of rolled some eyes, if I can be honest. Is it because of who she's married to, or is she going on her own accord in terms of what she brought to the business? Yeah, you can make an argument for both sides of...
3-time Steve champion?
Yeah, something like that.
3-time champion.
Butterfly belt.
Butterfly belt, yeah.
And then Lex Luger, long overdue. This was going to be a controversial pick, but given everything that he is putting himself through with the help of Diamond Dallas Page, this was a very emotional announcement that was made. Cody Rhodes went to his home and actually made the announcement that he was going to go into the Hall of Fame.
That's cool.
So we were all sitting here waiting for, okay, we've got the headliner, we've got the woman, and we've got the inspirational guy. So who's the tag team? Obviously it's going to be Demolition, right? Nope! We got Earthquake and Typhoon. Now, take nothing away from Earthquake and Typhoon. They were phenomenal in what they did with WWE.
Yeah.
As solo stars, I would put Earthquake way above.
Yep.
Yes.
Typhoon, then known as Tugboat.
Or Shockmaster.
Lower mid-card at best. I'm trying to give the guys some flowers.
I'm trying to give him a helmet.
As a tag team, as a tag team, they were in the right spot at the right time, and they wound up becoming champions. And like I said, I'm not saying they don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I just didn't believe they should be going in before Demolition, and I can't make sense of this. Q, we'll start with you. I don't know what's your overall opinion on this class so far, and there's a few more inductees that are going to be announced in the coming weeks. But as we stand right now, how are you feeling about this class?
Triple H, yes, I agree with everything you said. Definitely long overdue. I don't care who says what. Lex Luger, definitely long overdue. Michelle McCool, I was a little iffy on. There's a lot of women that I would put before her. And, I mean, tag team.
It had to be Demolition,
It had
right?
to be Demolition. I felt like, this is what I felt like. They put the cake right there in front of you. They said it's available to you now.
Yeah.
You've been looking at it through the window for a long time, but
Pull the
now
top
it's
off.
available.
Yeah.
You get ready to take a piece, and they pull it back, and they give you a pile of crap right there. Boom.
I'm glad you said that, because where I thought you were going with it was they put the cake right there in front of you. They pulled the top off, and just as you were going to get that,
Two fat guys come in and eat it.
No, man.
Hey!
Someone
I'm talking about
took
Typhoon
the
and
proverbial
Earthquake.
dump right in the middle of it,
Yep.
just as you were going to grab yourself a slice. So
Oh, yeah. Same thing.
great analogy. Great analogy.
Same thing, yeah.
Sean, where are you at with this?
Good with H. I'm absolutely ecstatic about Luger. Michelle McCool, no bueno. I think there's other women more deserving, and the number one off the top of my head would be Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Number two, I could go with Victoria. Number three, who would be great, would be Woman. I mean, let's face it, Chris Benoit's never going to go in, but Woman should definitely have a place, in my opinion. As far as the natural disasters go, I appreciate them for who they are. I am friends with Uncle Fred on Facebook. Hi, Uncle Fred. But fact of the matter is, Powers of Pain should be in before them. Demolition, absolutely, though, because we all know what a big, big fan I am of the Repo Man.
Right.
And I love the Repo Man. But I'm curious to see who else they're going to put in here. I mean, we don't have anyone in the celebrity wing announced yet.
I don't like the
I
fact
hope we
that
don't.
I just said it. I'm like, we were talking about it the other day. I'm like, why do we have to have a celebrity every year?
You know what I want? And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I want an enhancement to Odd Talent Wing.
Yeah.
I would love to see a Barry Horowitz or a Barry O or Mr. X get their flowers to help these guys become the superstars that they are. I mean, because without the jobbers back in the 80s, we wouldn't have these superstars in the Hall of Fame. So these guys should get their flowers, too.
We need a referee wing, too.
Yeah.
I'd rather see a
Referee
referee.
/ announcer
Yeah.
or something like that.
And I don't think that you have to fill every category every single year. I think you're forcing yourself to fill some of these spots.
But you know,
Like if you did a referee one, 100%. But I don't think you have to do that every single year. Because I think at some point you're going to be
a lot
like
of risk.
just forcing yourself to do it.
they're being really quiet about the Warrior Award this year, too.
They didn't do it last year either.
They didn't?
Nope. And it was like, I wonder, because they fired Dana Warrior, you know.
Yeah, they
so
did.
it makes me wonder if she took the award with her while she popped up on AEW or something like that, right next to the Owen Hart Foundation. But
Oh my God.
I don't care. Brian, where are you at with this class?
It's the same as everybody else. I mean, I'm just going to repeat the same things. I'm like everybody, 100% Triple H deserves to be in there. Triple H, I mean, he would never put himself in there, but for sure he deserves it for everything he's done. Like, I mean, that guy, I mean, other than what he's doing now, I mean, like, he was a big part of WWE for a long time there. Luger, I'm not a fan of him 100%. Like, as a person, he's definitely had moments. I mean, like, who's going to forget him slamming Yoko on the battleship? I mean, like, that's history right there.
Right.
Michelle McCool, whatever. Natural disasters, I don't care if natural disasters ever went in.
We can say that Michelle McCool is going in this year strictly because of who she's married to, yes?
Do you think it also has something to do
Oh,
with
absolutely,
the fact that she's on the LFG so much, and they're trying to promote that?
Yeah.
Because I think that might be a part of it as well.
Yeah, it certainly can be. That's the way it makes all the sense. The timing is right. That's why you're not putting Miss Elizabeth in here. You're not putting her in a class where Lex Luger's going in.
Well, I mean, they could have put in Lay Cool over the natural disasters.
Yeah.
What about Layla? Yeah.
Yeah.
Give her some love. She shared that title with that woman.
Yeah.
Split the belt
they
in
split
half
it in
and
half.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of belts, that brings up, and we have a couple of minutes here left before we reach the top of the hour. The AEW has a unique situation right now to where if they were smart, and go ahead and use this idea if you would like, you have the opportunity to condense the number of championships that you have on your show. And with that, you can have one of the most epic blockbuster matches in your company's history if you so choose. We saw coming out of Revolution that both Okada and Kenny Omega emerged with championship titles. One is the International Championship, the other is the Continental title. I feel like a title for title match would only make sense to merge these titles into one with two guys who tore it up in New Japan. They got 7.5 million stars by Dave Meltzer because it took place at the Tokyo Dome.
Yep.
But I feel like for a company that is struggling here in the United States of America and you want to play the role of fantasy booker, Mr. Khan, this is your opportunity. So I think that they should have Omega and Okada on American soil, title for title.
Absolutely.
What's your opinion?
You know, it's funny you said that because I actually thought the same thing. And I kind of I think they're going to actually do that too. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. You know how
The
Khan
IWC?
is, you know. I think there's a chance.
They're just stealing the WWE's idea, because what are they going to call it? The Intercontinental Championship?
Well, they're certainly not calling it that.
No,
You
they
know,
won't do that.
the international title, I could see what you know, whoever would emerge as the winner, that's the title that would go forward, and the other one would just be absolved into it. David Melbourne sends this guy, the Mead Street Posse. Now, this guy chimes in when Tim Sheridan and I do the Sports Reel podcast on Wednesdays on the PFC network. And we got to get him on the air at some point. He entertains the crap out of me. He comes up with some funny stuff.
He used to wrestle for me when I was a promoter.
Oh, yeah?
He went by the name of Fatty McFatterson.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
It's fantastic.
What's your take on a title for title match, and would a Omega and Okada match resonate with the American audience?
I think so, and I think even if it didn't, I think if they tune in, I think they would be really impressed. I think those two would have an amazing match, and AEW definitely has way too many belts to keep track of. I think that's a hard time for people to get in there and like start watching AEW, because you're like, I have no idea what's going on. Like every single person seems like they have a belt.
You know, it's starting to get that way with WWE too, if I'm being honest with you.
NXT just combined their women's belts.
Yeah, they need to do that, because now we got the ID titles, and Evolve, you know, is now a thing, and you know they're going to have their own championships. NXT, SmackDown, Raw. You go Speed. Yeah, I mean, what?
Get off that Speed.
It's too much.
Did Evolve start already?
Who?
Did Evolve start already?
Yeah, it started 2 weeks ago.
Okay, I missed it.
You can see new episodes of that on Wednesdays on Tubi.
Tubi. I almost said T-Move.
No, it's over on Tubi every Wednesday. New episodes are up, I believe, at 8 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know why I'm plugging their stuff. Watch us, and then we'll tell you.
Yeah, we'll tell you that stuff.
All right,
no, we won't. We're not talking about that.
Let's go ahead and put a bow on this week's episode.
Tuning in us, it's still better than watching theirs.
Certainly appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be back here in 2 weeks' time as we start to get ever so closer to the showcase of the Immortals, and we'll be breaking down all the latest news and headlines in and around the world of professional wrestling.
No. Pete Gas for the Hall of Fame, buddy. Joey Abs.
For the guys, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other. And we'll see you next time on the Fatal 4-Way right here on ONTV.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.